Hello, everybody. 3 News anchor Leslie Adamy here. Hard to believe, but it has now been 3 weeks since the devastation left behind by the Welder fire in Sinton. And of course, since then, as we have seen in our coverage, we have seen so many folks stepping in to help the Sinton community from right there in Sinton, in San Patricio County to beyond. Helpers coming from everywhere. And it was last week that we reported on the U.S. Small Business Administration announcing that they are going to also be able to assist with low interest disaster loans to Texas businesses, nonprofits, and residents who sustained major damages from that devastating Welder fire. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce you all to someone that we have been speaking with, and that is Michelle Genovese. Bring her in now. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Michelle. Now, whenever y'all had put that information out about the SBA loans and how it's going to be able to help victims of the Welder fire, we were able to get that onto our newscast, but we want to just take a moment to have like a more thorough breakdown of the resources that are available for anyone and everyone impacted by this tragedy there in Sinton. So I appreciate you taking the time. First things first, because you guys are with the Small Business Administration, and folks who are listening to this or heard us when we were talking about it on the news last week, they might be thinking, oh, I'm not a small business owner. I wasn't operating a business or a company out of my home. I lived in Sinton and I was impacted by this. Do you mind, just first things first, clearing that verbiage up for me?
Absolutely. The Small Business Administration has an Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And what we do is we provide loans to not only businesses that have been affected by a disaster, but also homeowners and tenants who have lost their personal property, who've had their homes damaged, and maybe the insurance has not covered all of their damages. We at the SBA can help those businesses and homeowners and tenants go back to their pre-disaster condition. It is in a form of a loan, but again, it's bringing them back to a position where they can be comfortable and hopefully forget about the most horrible moment in their life. So yeah, the SBA has been around since 1953, but the first disaster was the actual depression in World War II back in 1953. So we've been around for quite some time, and I agree, most people don't know about us and our program. So I'm so glad that you're here letting everybody know that they can apply for these loans at low interest rates, direct federal loans, not through a third party. And again, we have wonderful terms for these disaster survivors so that they don't have to be embarrassed about asking for this assistance. It's part of their taxpayer benefits, I like to tell them.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you touched on that because, unfortunately, for a lot of folks that are reaching out to you, this is the first time that they're having to do something like this, right? So I know it's got to be so helpful and reassuring for them to navigate this process with you all. And you mentioned, you guys have been around for a long time, going to places that have experienced a natural disaster of some sort. And Michelle, you were just telling me earlier that you were helping the folks out here in the Lone Star State not too long ago. You were in Texas before this, and of course you're now back in Texas. And I understand that you had a chance to also have conversations with the Sinton mayor and visit the damage yourself.
Mary did take me around to the disaster site, and when I sent a picture to my supervisor, he thought I had taken it when I was in LA for those fires. And it pretty much looked the same exact way as far as devastation. And again, talking to the disaster survivor who's telling me that He utilized all his savings to make his repairs. He'd never heard about the SBA. He didn't know that we could provide him with loans to repair his home. And actually, we also have programs, once somebody is approved, they can increase their loan in order to cover mitigation. So if he wanted to add a steel roof to prevent any further disasters from happening again, he can request that if he's approved for that. So we offer refinancing for those that had substantial damages. And one other thing is, many people may not have insurance, but for those that do have insurance, the SBA doesn't expect them to wait for that insurance recovery. We can actually advance the expected insurance recovery, and then when a person receives their check from the insurance, they can put it right towards our loan. Our loans can go from 15 to 30 years long, so that those payments would be small and affordable, especially at the rate of 2.75%. So again, it is a wonderful program that nobody knows about. So I'm so glad again that you are reaching out to the public to let everybody know we can provide for them.
Well, and that's why I'm so happy that we're having this conversation. And you had mentioned that that you had gotten the chance to talk with someone there on the ground who had sustained significant damage, and just get a chance to see everything for yourself. So essentially, Michelle, what you're saying is anyone impacted by this, those are folks that are encouraged to apply for this SBA loan.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we look at not only the actual county that the business resides in, but also the neighboring counties for businesses. We reach out to those. But again, it is important to apply, because there is no fee to apply for these loans. We also have no prepayment penalties for these loans if somebody wanted to pay off that loan earlier. Again, our loans go 15 to 30 years long. We make it comfortable for the applicant. And one other thing, we don't expect a payment for the first year, and we don't start charging interest for that first year. So again, this is a loan to help those disaster survivors recover in the easiest way. They can even apply online at home at www.sba.gov. We make it that easy to log in, start an account at My Lender Portal, and then all the conversations, all the requests for additional information usually go through that. So we make it nice and easy for the applicant to, start afresh and forget about that horrible night, that horrible instance that they've gone through.
And I'm so happy that you touched on that repayment process, because I know that's probably on the minds of a lot of folks. So I'm so happy you touched on this. You mentioned going online is an avenue, and especially nowadays with the hustle and bustle and everything, online is so helpful. But I know you guys are actually going to be stationed there at the San Patricio County Fairgrounds. You got there late last week, and you're going to be there until the 17th, correct, of April?
Correct. And we're open every day from 8 to 5. So if somebody's nervous about going online, they can come in, and one of our customer service representatives can walk them through it. And again, it's an easy process. We don't need much information to get this ball rolling. So if we do need additional information, such as insurance, federal tax returns, anything like that, it can be requested at a later date. Because again, you want to get this ball rolling so they start your repairs and again to recover and get over this disaster.
Right. And I know you just mentioned that, if there is something that they were needing to have with them, that can they can fulfill that request later. But is there anything that they, just to make the process go that much smoother when they are visiting with you there at the fairgrounds, what are some of the things that they should have on their person that can just make things go a little bit more efficiently?
Well, most of the questions are going to be about their financial conditions. So they're going to be asking what the income is and what the current debt load is. Those are questions that will be asked. And if somebody doesn't have that off the top of their heads, if they don't have their federal tax returns to see exactly how much money they made last year, we always request it later because the SBA is there for the disaster survivor, and we're trying to make it as easy of a process as possible. So we can always receive that later to get that, the application started. But mostly that will be what is asked of them. What is their income? What is their current debt? And really, if there is any additional information that they need, the loan officer will request it in writing. And so that'll give them some time to provide. So they'll always have it in writing so they know exactly what they need.
And we're just about wrapping up here, Michelle, but when you and I were talking as we were setting up this interview, something you had mentioned was, folks that you had heard about or heard from directly that had applied for credit cards to kind of start assessing, figuring out what they need to do at their homes. And there was a really good point that you had made to me about, don't get those new credit cards, like lean on this. So if you could speak to that a little bit more.
Well, most people, when they have been through a disaster, they want to go out and make those instant repairs. They want to buy new things, so again, they don't have that reminder. And of course, those are needs that were taken away from them by that disaster. I always tell people, don't use those credit cards because sometimes those interest rates can be very, very high. If you use the government's money at a rate of 2.75% and business loans are at 4%, they will recover a lot quicker. And nobody should be ashamed again because this is paid through your tax dollars. So again, utilize the government's money through these direct low interest rates. And again, stay away from some of those. There may be some people that target the disaster survivors. So you want to make sure that you are utilizing true contractors, that type of thing, because they do get targeted on some occasions.
Really solid and helpful points there, Michelle. Thank you so much. Before we wrap things up, is there anything that I did not ask or a frequently asked question that your team sees pop up when we're talking about things like this that we didn't talk about that you think is important that folks impacted by the Welder fire there in Sinton should know about?
Again, there is no cost to apply for these loans, these direct federal loans. So I encourage everyone to apply for these loans. There is no prepayment penalty, so they can cancel that loan at any time before they receive a disbursement. The loan officer is going to call them and speak with them to make sure that they're comfortable with the terms of that loan. So, again, most people don't even know about us and they don't know about this funding option. So I encourage all of them to go into our customer service center over at the fairgrounds and talk with our agents to find out more if they have any worries or they're nervous about it. Again, these are direct loans from the federal government, and so they don't have to worry about it. Loans under $14,000 don't even require collateral or a lien against their home. And I realize a lot of the senior citizens worry about that too. They don't want to put a lien on their property. But we have unsecured loans up to $14,000. So it might, again, be a perfect funding option instead of those other high rate avenues of credit.
And then last thing, Michelle, I know you guys are going to be stationed there at the fairgrounds, best ways for folks to get in touch with you.
Best place is either in person at the fairgrounds, at our website at www.sba.gov. It's the first thing that comes up when you pull up the website. Also have a customer service line that's open late, and they have all the answers. I actually used to work there at 1-800-659-55, and they even have a line so that if somebody's hard of hearing, you can contact that 1-800 number, and they can, or you can even find it at our website at www.sba.gov. So we try to help all, and again, there's no cost to apply for these. So reach out to any one of our avenues. Again, customer service centers right here in Sinton. We have the customer service at 1-659-2955, and also our website. So there's many avenues on how to apply. And again, it's an easy process.
Wonderful. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for all of that. This is all wonderful and very helpful information. And again, for folks watching, the SBA is going to be set up at the San Patricio County Fairgrounds there in Sinton to meet with folks who have questions. If you're like me and you like getting things taken care of and questions answered one-on-one with someone, it sounds like this is such a great opportunity to do so there at the San Patricio County Fairgrounds. Michelle, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we will have all of this information on our website, KIITV.com.
Thank you so much again for having us here.
Of course. Thanks, Michelle. We'll see you again soon.